Hey guys, what's up? Shout out to everyone that's joining. It's been a little while since we've been live, but hey, do me a favor as you come and hit the like button for me. Let's get some more people in here. If you're here for the topic of today's live, which is will your avoidant ex or will an avoidant miss you when you're in no contact? That's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to give a few minutes for more people to hop in so we can talk about it. And then after I address it for like the first 5 to 10 minutes, I'll just kind of share with you some of my thoughts and experience with coaching people, what I see with avoidance, and we'll talk about that. And then we'll do some questions. We'll do some questions, whatever questions you may have. I'm looking forward to talking through them. Um, the goal of the lives is really to connect with you guys. And let me just say, I appreciate you all for joining in the midst of whatever you're dealing with or whatever you're feeling currently. I know it's a lot. Trust me, I know. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. This is a platform where you can connect, you can comment, you can kind of connect with each other in the comment section. Also, most importantly, it gives me the opportunity to answer some questions. All right. This is a no cost, this is free of charge. So if you appreciate that, do me a favor, okay? Hit the like button, send this to someone else who you think might need it. And I truly, truly, really do appreciate it. Um, the coaching calls, it's not for everybody. Sometimes you just have a quick question so you can drop them in the comment section and we'll address those. Also, if this is your first time live, please drop a comment. Let me know it's your first time so I can give you a shout out. Shout out to Bit Bob. I always see you in the comments. Always one of the first people to comment. So I really appreciate the love and support. At this point, I don't even know if Bit Bob is still dealing with the breakup, but I appreciate you for always taking the time out to say something. Okay. Um, let's see here. Let's do a couple of shout outs. Shout out to Pearl. Says, hey, coach. Let's see here. We got Lovey from Minnesota. Shout out to you, Lovey. I actually spent some time out in Minnesota at a company I used to work for. So pretty familiar with Shakopee area, Eden Prairie. I spent a couple of weeks out there. So shout out to Minnesota, wherever you're tuned in from. Let's see here. TMKC says, at least I'm not crying anymore. That's amazing, man. That's progress. A lot of times when I'm on the call, I tell people there's an emotional side to the breakup, right? Which is so important because it's a lot deeper than a lot of the advice and things that you see on my channel or a lot of channels. And you need a space to kind of get those emotions out of you. So therapy is good for that, right? Friends, family, talking to people to really deal with the emotions because no contact is not going to, at least not immediately, fix the things that you're feeling emotionally. So shout out to you. I'm glad you're no longer crying. All right. Let's see. Gabriella says, hey coach. Georgie says, hey, you've helped me so much. That's amazing. I'm truly blessed to be able to do so, and thank you. Um, we got Sandy from Jersey. Let's see here. Juicy Juice from ATL. Shout out to you. Triple Concept from France. Shout out to you, my friend. Ransom Antoine says this is his first time. Welcome aboard, bro. Okay, so I really appreciate everyone. If this is your first time, we're gonna dive into the topic. It's been about 5 minutes. So if you're joined in, looking for answers of will an avoidant miss you when you're in no contact, that's what we're going to address now. If you just joined in, please do me a favor, hit the like button. Without further ado, let's talk about it. So, one of the things that's very important to understand about avoidance is, a lot of people tend to um, make avoidance out to be the villain and make them out to be bad people. And, if there's videos that talk about avoidance like that, I don't really agree. See, a lot of the behaviors that avoidance exhibits has to do with their experience with their caretakers and how they were raised in childhood. Right. So it has a lot to do with how the people that were closest to them connected with them at a very young and formidable age. See, what happens because of these experiences is that they're basically emotionally stunted in a lot of ways. So it's not that avoidants do not seek or crave love and connection like the rest of the population does, because they do. Actually, research shows that avoidants have a tendency to romanticize and idealize romantic connections. They're always looking for that one. And what you'll realize when you talk to an avoidant, when they start describing what they're looking for in a relationship, it can tend to be this very like cookie cutter, black and white type situation, right? It's an ideal vision that they have for what a relationship should look like. And in that process of trying to look for and find that person, when they're describing their past relationships or past experiences, you'll always realize that they're talking about these people like, there was just something missing, right? This person could have been the perfect person. They were there for them emotionally, they were caring, but they weren't as physically attracted to them. There was always something missing from this perfect picture of this idealized version that they're looking for. And so what tends to happen is if you find yourself right in the throes of falling in love romantically with an avoidant, what happens, especially in the beginning of the relationship, the very fact that they're connecting with you means that they saw something special in you or something special in the relationship. And so essentially, you have become their idealized target. And so, what it looks like a lot of times in the beginning is that there'll be a lot of effort. Now, some people may call this love bombing, but I don't think it's coming from an evil place. It's that in the beginning, they are seeing everything that they're looking for. They're seeing everything that they thought about or that they dreamed about. And they might have actually told you things like this. Oh, I've never felt this way about someone before. I've never connected with someone the way I'm connecting with you. Right. And a lot of times, if you're emotionally healthy, so let's say you're a secure person, you're going to kind of take your time getting into the relationship. So maybe you were a little bit reserved, maybe you held back a little bit emotionally because you hadn't fallen for them yet. So the fact that you didn't need them as much from an emotional perspective, the fact that you didn't really need them in the beginning, like you do when you're actually fully committed and in a relationship, that gives them that sense of safety. They're still able to maintain a sense of freedom and isolation from the connection while they still pursue it intensely, right? Because it looks like everything that they were looking for, everything that they fantasized about. And so eventually they win you over. You let your guard down a little bit. You're like, okay, it's been a few weeks, it's been a couple of months. I feel like I can trust them. I feel like they will never do anything to hurt me or to break my heart. And then not only do you start to open up and trust them, you start to depend on them for your emotional needs, right? And do me a favor, if you're just joining, please like the video. Share this with somebody you think who needs it. This is so important because a lot of time you can get into a pattern of blaming yourself for how the relationship went wrong, but you really have to understand the psychology of an avoidant and what's going on beneath the surface. So, as human beings, we rely on each other emotionally. Whether you have friends or family that you depend on, or your romantic partner, this is the natural place, this is the natural outlet, right, for your feelings, for connection. This is supposed to be your safe space. So as you start to feel those deep feelings and you really start to tap into that sense of security that a relationship can bring, right, and planning for the future and really starting to see this person in the place of your forever person. When people talk about, oh, I think I've met the one, you might have started saying things like this about your ex. You might have started telling, your friends and your family, like, no, this is different. This is special. And so you start to rely on them more, you start to depend on them more. And instantly, it's like the fantasy that they once had, the dream, the passion, the picture, everything that they saw, it's like it starts to crumble because now they're getting access to the reality. I mean, how many of us know that you can, like, the people who know you the most are the people who are closest to you. So your ex might have had this romanticized vision or version of you, but the closer they get to you and they start to experience you, now they're noticing all the little flaws. And it's not because you're a bad person, you're just human. And so now they have an issue with how you eat. And now they have an issue with, you're not as driven or ambitious as them, or you don't work out as much as they do, or you don't have a social life. And so it's almost like they're nitpicking at you in every little thing that you do. And of course, this is very hurtful coming from someone that you care about and someone that you love, because of all the people in the world, their opinion probably means the most to you. So maybe you express that hurt or frustration, and then it turns to an argument or a fight, and they pull away. They're never willing to stay in the conflicts. They're never willing to kind of talk things out or talk things through. They run. Now, you may go into a couple of cycles of this before you figure out that they're starting to sabotage the relationship. Now, all of a sudden, it's, I don't know what I want. I need to work on myself. I got a lot of stuff going on at work, right? And it's worse because a lot of times you didn't ask to be here. You didn't ask for this relationship. Maybe you were just minding your business and they kind of pulled you in and dragged you into it emotionally. So they kind of awoke all these feelings inside of you. And just like that, they're gone again. So what you got to understand is this is the cycle and the pattern of an avoidant. Okay. And I'm not a therapist, okay, just to be clear. I'm just a dude on YouTube who's really passionate and interested in the subject. So I spent a lot of hours reading and learning about this stuff and coaching the people and talking to people about their relationships. But what's very interesting about avoidance, because they still have that longing, they still ultimately have that desire for relationships, right? When they sabotage a relationship, this is actually the most pivotal moments that actually draw them back. There's two main times that an avoidant actually can tap into their emotions and get closer. The first is when they're dealing with kind of big life situations that distract them. So it's taking a lot of their mental bandwidth. So those defenses are kind of down because they're facing the world. And so now they're able to connect naturally. So a lot of times when they're going through periods of strife, you know, heartbreak, issues at work, family issues, excuse me, they can actually start to tap into that emotional side of them and start missing you and starting to want to connect again. The other time is when they have lost you. So most times an avoidant is never going to miss you while you're still around. This is the mistake that I see so many people make, is because you're pretty sure they're an avoidant person, you don't want to abandon them like the people of the past did. You don't want to abandon them and hurt them in the same way that you feel is triggering them and causing them to be broken in the first place. But what you have to understand is an avoidant will never miss or crave you while you're still around. If anything, you're proving to them that they will never have their freedom, they will never have their autonomy, and you're always going to depend and rely on them from an emotional perspective. Now, let me say this. Just because an avoidant misses you, it doesn't mean that they will all come back. If there's anyone that tells you all avoidants always come back, that's not true. An avoidant can miss you and deal with the pain. They might be hurt, they might be thinking about you, and a lot of times it's going to affect how they connect with new people, but they may suffer in silence. It just depends on the person. But sometimes they will miss you, they will remember the connection, and then they'll make an effort to reconnect with you directly. But what you have to remember, what you have to think about is that you will stay in this cycle and pattern unless they are familiar with their own internal issues. So if they have not learned anything about attachment styles, if they are refusing to go to therapy, if they haven't read the literature, if they're not doing any kind of work to, first of all, be more cognizant of what is happening internally, because it's an internal feeling. When they start to doubt and second guess the relationship, it's different if they are aware, oh, this is just my pattern. And now they can communicate that to you like, hey, I just need a little bit of time. I want to spend some time with friends. I might be gone for a couple of hours. They can connect and communicate. That's the most important thing. Okay. Anyway, so if you tuned in just for that question, will an avoidant miss you? It's going to be live on the channel, so you can check back in. I want to jump to whatever questions you may have now about your situation. So I'm looking forward to talking about this. If you appreciated that first part of the segment, please do me a favor, hit the like button for me. I really appreciate it. We're going to jump into some questions here. The way I like to do the questions is like this, all right? Because we have a bunch of people online. If you want me to answer your question first, maybe you don't have a ton of time and you want to just hop in and hop out, send a super chat. If you send a super chat, it's going to pop up on my screen. I'm going to answer the super chat questions first, because you guys are basically, and I think the minimum you have to give for it to pop on my thing is $4.99. If you do less than that, you're better off just not giving a super chat. Just ask your question the regular way, and if I can get to it, I'll get to it. Okay. But if you want to pop up on my screen so you can kind of skip the line, you have a specific question about your situation you want to ask, send a super chat and I'll ask those questions first. Anyway, let us dive into the first question. Okay, so first question we got is from Derek. Derek says, what if she ghosted me after she was disrespectful and I stood up to her? What's your question for me, bro? Because if here's the thing, if she ghosted you, I don't know. When you say disrespectful, I don't know exactly what she did or said. When you say stood up to her, I don't know exactly what you did or said. But the bottom line, it takes two to make a relationship work. Okay. So if she is not communicating at all, then there's really nothing to do. Again, I don't know exactly what you said or how the lines or boundaries were crossed, but just taking everything at face value, you'd say she called you out of your name. She said something really disrespectful, and you just said, hey, I don't appreciate that. And she ghosted you afterward. And there's really nothing to do, right? Her disrespecting you, I mean, it says a lot about how she views you, right? Now, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just says a lot about how she views you because she doesn't respect you. And you don't want to be with a woman who doesn't respect you. I promise you, there's someone else out there that will value you and treat you with the respect you deserve. So I wouldn't chase her. I wouldn't say anything. Um, let her reach out to you if she wants to talk. Okay. The next question we got is from Chad. Chad says she pretends to be happy on social media, but I know deep down she's hurting. I was the first guy who loved her and showed her true love. Well, all you can do is be glad, right? Be glad that you had the opportunity to express that love and feelings for her, but you can't really make any assumptions at this point. Now, here's the thing. Most times people who are super happy, they're spending time with their loved ones in real life, right? They're spending if you're happy, you're not just constantly posting about it. It's usually people who aren't so happy, who are seeking attention, that do a lot of posting. But either way, you can't really read too much meaning into that. If you are a loving, caring person and you know that you gave your all and you were, truly the kind of guy that loved her as she is, she's not going to find that easily. That's just the truth. There's not a ton of people out there that love in that way, selflessly. So she'll probably miss you and think about you if you're not chasing her. So sometimes you have to allow her to kind of experience life without you. And that's hurtful. I talk to guys who are like, I can't believe she went on a date. I can't believe she's on dating apps. And that may be your boundary. If she does that, you might be, I'm done forever. And that's fine. But sometimes it's these experiences, right, that make them want you. I mean, you ever heard the saying, like, it's pretty cliche, but it's so true. It's like, we only appreciate the sun because we experience rain. You only know what joy feels like because you've experienced sadness and sorrow. So if there's not that juxtaposition or the ability to compare the two things, if you've just been spoiled, she's been spoiled by you with love, affection, intimacy. And she thinks that's just how everyone is going to be. Well, sometimes her getting out into the streets is what's going to wake her up. Okay. So, but thank you for your question, Chad. Let's see here. If you're just joining, please do me a favor, hit the like button, share this with someone else who you think needs this. If you want to skip the line, if you have any questions, send a super chat. I'll answer those questions first. But otherwise, I'm just answering the questions randomly. Okay, the next question I saw here is from where was it? It's Jessica. It's Jessica says, my ex ain't coming back because he has trust issues. And he recently broke up the friendship and told me to delete his number and never contact him again. Mine is not coming back as he's deleted the number. I mean, these are so here's the thing. I don't make videos to kind of make you live in a delusional world. Okay. So I never say every single ex is gonna come back. But most of them do to some capacity. So here's the thing. See, the way you phrase that question, that the way you phrase that, it's laced with a lot of fear. It's laced with a lot of like, he's not coming back because he deleted my number. Do you know how many people I've talked to who deleted numbers? Even on like iPhones, you can restore numbers. Like, you just go to, I don't know how it works. I think iCloud or something. And you can say restore my contacts from the day before I deleted it. So them deleting your number is not evidence that they'll never come back. And the bigger thing that sticks out to me is that he said he recently broke up the friendship. So that tells me if you were in a relationship, it was probably months and months ago. You stayed around his friends and kind of lingered. And for some reason, he chose to end that friendship. So you kind of been sticking around. So there's not a ton of like self respect in that. There's not a lot of like giving him the breakup or giving space. There's not a ton of that. So it's kind of like he's going to take you and take the relationship for granted because he's never had to work for it. Okay. So if he never comes back, so be it. as much as it hurts. But to me, that statement is laced with a lot of fear. It's laced with a lot of insecurity. But it all will be well. I'm telling you, it's going to be better than you think. Next question is from Raj. Let's see here. Raj says, been in a 3-year relationship, absolutely perfect. Okay. But the last 2 months have been difficult as my ex has been really distant, shared deep secrets, and don't know if she's lost attraction or a third party is involved. So the way you're phrasing that question, it sounds like you're still to get. Well, you said my ex. So what I'm missing here is when did she break up with you, and all of those things. Because if you're still in a relationship and your partner is pulling back, what I would say is you need to communicate. So it's not about playing games and like, oh, she's pulling back, I'm gonna pull back. That's your girlfriend. You pull her to the side and say, hey, babe, like, I noticed things have been a little bit off. Is everything okay? You have to express what's on your mind. You don't wait until the relationship is over, but you address her as your ex here. So there's a lot of the story that's missing. Like how long ago she broke up with you, why she broke up with you, are you in no contact? There's a lot of questions I have about that. Okay, so we got a super chat from Adam Fluke. Adam says, my avoidant ex left me but wanted to stay in contact. I told her we can't do that, but every night she texts me when she's drunk. What does this mean? Well, the first question is, what do you do when she texts you? Do you answer? Do you respond? And do you guys communicate? Let's assume that you don't. If you don't respond, let's say you set the boundary like, hey, I don't want to be friends and I wish you well and so on. And she keeps texting you. Well, if you're not responding after a couple of times when she's drunk, she'll stop texting you or she'll text you when she's not drunk. Because the goal here is, I mean, if you still have feelings with her, for her, it's not that you do not want to connect with her at all. You do, but you want her to connect with you in a meaningful way. And obviously, when she's drunk, she doesn't really have the mental faculty to really connect. So this is just she's bored, she's out drinking with her girls, and you're kind of like entertainment. Now, I will say this, right? There's a saying that, the only people that'll tell you the truth is kids, drunk people, and angry people. So there's probably still something below the surface if when she gets drunk, you're one of the numbers she reaches out to dial. But I'll tell you, if you are communicating with her every time she's drunk, you're reinforcing the behavior that you're trying to discourage. Right? If she knows that every time she reaches out, regardless of the boundaries you set for her, you're always going to be welcoming. Well, she doesn't really have. There's no incentive for her to reach out to you in a meaningful way. Okay, but thank you for your question, bro. The next question we're gonna look at is from Michael. Michael Mancusi. Michael says broke up 3 weeks ago. Okay, no contact for 2 weeks. Her dad's death. Oh, her. Okay, her dad passed away in October some years ago. Should I stay in no contact or text? See, this is a tricky one, right? Because you know the death of a parent is a big deal. I don't know what the relationship was like with her and her father, and I don't know what's been going on, like what caused the breakup. There's a lot of nuance that's missing here, right? And again, I'm not sure how long ago her father passed. Did you have a relationship with her father? There's a lot of things that is important there that will kind of sway. It's a tight one, but generally, I want you to be a kind person. So this is not about you being evil. Like you want to be kind and thoughtful, but if you had no relationship with her father at all, and he passed away years and years before you ever met her, I don't think it's necessarily um, important for you to connect with her that day. It really depends. And was it something that while you were together was brought up a lot, and there was always some kind of um, celebration or conversation about it while you guys were together? That might sway me one way or the other, but generally speaking, I would give her space and leave her alone, especially this early. 3 weeks is kind of early. Lee Lokes, thoughts on break from relationship because of busyness, okay, and then still sharing location with you. Well, generally, I would consider breaks to be a break up. Okay. So it's just that maybe they're not 100% certain about it yet. They could possibly be looking to monkey branch into a new thing. So, when someone's asking you for a break, generally you want to sit down and say, hey, like, I want to fight for this relationship. I want us to be in. If there's an issue that we need to talk about, let's go to therapy. Fight for the relationship there and then, as opposed to like accepting a break because of busyness. And so you're still kind of like in this la la land. That's kind of really abusive to you. So if I were you, I don't know how long you've accepted this whole break thing. I would ask for a conversation, for a deeper conversation. The result of that conversation will determine whether you're going into no contact and so on and so forth. A relationship, the basis of of a relationship is love and open communication. So a break because of busyness is a terrible excuse, right? And if there's stress, if there's busyness, these are things that you deal with together. These are things that you work through together. So it's not a good sign. So if I'm you, what I'd be trying to do first and foremost is to get back to the negotiating table, to get back to a conversation. Don't accept this break lying down, because this is a way for them to eat their cake and have it. I was watching a video on TikTok, a while ago that was kind of funny because people were having a debate or having um, issue understanding, what it means to eat your cake and have it. And I know the people who watch my content, I'm sure you guys understand the concept of eating your cake and having it. But just to explain further from a breakup scenario, right? You can't keep the relationship and not be in the relationship. That's what a break is, right? They're kind of like keeping you on ice. They still have ownership of you. You cannot go date anyone else, but they still get to be somewhat out of the relationship emotionally. You shouldn't allow that happen. Okay. Anyway, thanks for your question, brother. All right, let's do some more random ones. Let's say this. If you just joined, please do me a favor, hit the like button. We're gonna be here for like 30 more minutes or so. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm just picking questions at random. I'm scrolling. I'm not even reading. I'm just picking the first one my eye locks into. I'll answer that question. But if you have a specific question that you want me to definitely answer, send a super chat and I will answer your question. Next question I got here is from Cutthroat. Cutthroat says, hope YouTube's okay with that. My ex blocked me days after our breakup just to unblock me the next day. Then a week later, she blocked me the other day because she knew I wasn't chasing, staying no contact. I know she's going to get back. I had to go no contact because she got disrespectful. Well, awesome, man. It's important. And disrespect goes both ways in a relationship. As a man, you don't want to disrespect your girlfriend. There's things that you can do that she's going to consider disrespectful. Now, that's going to be dependent on the type of relationship you have with each other. Of course, every relationship is different. Everyone's rules and boundaries are not the same. But let's say your ex-girlfriend has an issue with you liking other girls' pictures. Right. So you going forward and liking those pictures can be considered disrespect. And vice versa, if she's disrespecting you, whether verbally or she's following people after you've communicated, yeah, it's important that you stand up for yourself. And so a lot of times when you're seeing all these blocking and unblocking cycles, most times it's a ploy to rile you up emotionally. So they take away access from them to see what you do. Sometimes they'll block you, and then when they unblock you, you find out now she's followed 10 new guys or 20 new guys. And as a man, your job is to do your best to stay on your square. This is hard to do, and these things are not easy, right? But that's when you're protected. When you stay on your square, you do not move forward, you do not try to negotiate when she's not negotiating in good faith. If she was disrespectful to you, it's on her to take ownership and accept and acknowledge, hey, this is where I went wrong and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. And then you can actually chart out a path to fixing things. Next question we got is from Noah. Noah says, my ex didn't want me following or talking to girls while we were broken up, but still talking the whole time. She's following guys. Well, these are the subtle ways that I'm saying you're accepting the disrespect and mistreatment. So, one, she broke up with you, but she gets unlimited access to you. And I bet when you said we're talking the whole time, she basically talks to you whenever she feels like it. I bet you don't get unlimited access to her when she doesn't want to talk to you. So notice how she's still controlling you even from outside the relationship. So what exactly is she missing from the relationship? Physical intimacy? She probably doesn't want that right now. But I bet if she wanted to be physical with you, you would be open to that. So essentially, she gets to maintain an emotional relationship with you. She gets to explore other connections with other guys because you don't know what she's doing when she's not with you. She's liking other guys' pictures, she's following other guys, as you can see. But then on the flip side, she's controlling you and telling you, oh, you cannot follow anyone else. It's going to be very difficult for her to respect you. It's going to be difficult for her to see you as an equal partner because she's getting to boss you around. And this is extremely unattractive. There's nothing about that that she can look at and say, I respect him. This is the type of guy I want to be with. And also, when you want to look at getting your ex back, if that's what you want, look at it from their perspective for a second. I'm not telling you to chase or anything, right? Ultimately, your ex is going to do what they believe is in their best interest, and it's not a totally selfish thing. It's human nature. We tend to, if I give you an option between two jobs, you're probably going to choose the job, but provided they have a similar work life balance, you're going to choose the job that pays the most, right? So all things being equal, we're going to tend to opt for the better option. So, from your ex's perspective, what does this look like? What do we look for in a romantic partner? Well, physical attractiveness. If she's dated you before, yeah, you're probably physically attractive to her, unless you've changed drastically physically from when you first got together to now. So, physical attractiveness was already there. And then you look at the characteristic traits that we tend to be attracted to: confidence, self-reliance, self-esteem, self-respect. Someone who has a lot of options, someone who has boundaries. So if she has broken up with you, but she can boss you around, disrespect you, tell you who and who not to talk to, what about that would be attractive to her? Nothing. And that's why she keeps you on the back burner, bro. Okay, so next question we're going to look at, and thank you all for being here, man, It's amazing. We're getting a lot of good questions here. And I hope you're finding this helpful. If you're going through a breakup, if you're not asking a question specifically, I hope that some of these questions I'm answering, maybe applied to you in some way. All right. The next question we're going to look at is from Maverick. Maverick says, first time I met my ex, I broke up with her twice, like a month. Da, 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 da. Okay. The question's a little confusing. Let's pick someone else. A to Zeke says 4 years together, engaged. 4 months before our wedding, he broke up with me. Okay. No contact for 2 months. His fam still checks on me. Tells me he's going through it. You think they are giving him info about me? Very likely. Okay. If you're talking to close friends or family of your ex, assume that everything you're telling them is getting fed to your ex. So if you were engaged, obviously this is a deeper relationship. You have a relationship with their friends and family, and this is why they're still reaching out to you. So I don't say you should just kind of treat those people with disrespect, but certainly anyone can understand that going through a heartbreak is a very emotional thing. So you're well within your rights to tell them, as long as you communicate this and say, hey guys, like, I really appreciate you keeping in touch. It really means a lot to me. I just need a moment. I just need a little bit of time to decompress with this stuff in private. I really do appreciate it, and express the gratitude so they don't feel disrespected. Because if you fix things, you want the family that still loves and supports you. So as long as you communicate with them, that's a way you can kind of essentially force no contact onto the friends and family that won't stop reaching out. Okay. Because you have to have some separation. Otherwise, everything you're telling them is going to your ex. They know exactly how you feel, and he knows that you're missing him. And so there's no sense of urgency to want to fix things because you're still going to be there. Stravala with the super chat says, we broke up after 3 years. He's an avoidant, and I was anxious. He's living his life as if I never existed. I'm in no contact since 3 months. Will he come back? Well, I got to be clear. I'm not a voodoo priest. I can't say for certain this is definitely going to happen, especially I don't really have any context of the relationship, what happened, what caused the breakup, at least what he said. But what I can tell you is that in general, okay, avoidants do miss you when there's enough time and space. Now, you said, I'm in no contact for 3 months. I have a lot of questions about, did you go into no contact right after the breakup? Has there been any type of initiation of contact or trying to talk or anything since the breakup? I have a lot of questions about that because 3 months of silence, let's say you broke up 3 months ago and you instantly went into no contact and there has been zero communications right after the breakup to 3 months. I would say that is rare in my experience, even with avoidance. And so what I would do in that case is I would still give it a little bit more time before you consider trying to reconnect in any way. Okay. And you can choose to walk away and be done forever and say, well, if he doesn't miss me and he doesn't care and he's ready to give up on the relationship, I'm done. But generally speaking, I wouldn't say you're not in the danger zone until you're like way past 4 or 5 months. Okay. But I would say in general, right? I have so many more questions about how the breakup happened. Did you go into no contact right away? Because these things could be what's causing the lack of communication. But thanks for your question. Spike Spiegel says, after our breakup, I reached out about having a conversation. She agreed it would be good, but has been distant. What should I do on this situation? Well, if she agreed that it'd be good to have a conversation, then the goal would be to set up an appointment, a date, for lack of a better word, but that should be the goal. Even if there's some resistance, and you got to be careful how you're phrasing this. If you're presenting it as, because this is what she's thinking. She's thinking, if I meet with him, he's going to try to sell me on a relationship. And if she just broke up with you, that's not what she's wanting right now. So meeting up with you is going to feel like a lot of pressure for two reasons. One, you're either going to convince her to be in a relationship with you when she's unsure about it, and maybe she's weak and she might accept it, but again, she's unsure. But the second thing is that it's difficult because she knows if she agrees to meet with you and you ask for a relationship, now she's going to have to break up with you all over again. Right? Because think about, that's what that kind of meeting is going to feel like. It's going to feel like a second breakup if you're trying to fix things and she's like, no, 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 I don't want that. This is why it's important to not come off like you're trying to fix things right away. So asking to get together is fine, but how you present it and how you communicate that could be what's causing her to have pause. So the next time the conversation comes up, I would just say, "Hey, these are the days I'm free. When are you free?" And get to the point and stop presenting it like this big deal. Jiggy 426 says, "I broke down and sent an email to my ex. Felt stupid after. I didn't hear back. She's been gone 6 months now. I wish I could move on, but my heart is still with her. See you in the next few weeks, coach." Oh, I guess maybe we've talked before. Hey man, like you got to understand it. It takes time. Like some people, there's some people that you may have been in a relationship with longer, but they have less of an emotional impact on you. Some people you're with 6 months, and it's like the connection is way deeper. It feels like, man, this was my person. This was supposed to be it. So don't knock yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be easy on yourself. And sometimes it's going to take longer than you want it to go. That's just kind of how life goes at times. Give yourself some grace. Like I said, there's the tactical side to breakups, the no contact and all that stuff. But a lot of times you got to look beyond that as well. There's an emotional side to this. You're human. You're in pain. You're hurting, and so it's okay to still have feelings for them, as long as you don't use that as an excuse to do things that you end up regretting. Now, if you make a mistake and you send a message when you shouldn't have, or you sent two messages or an email, give yourself some grace. It's not the right thing to do, but it's okay. Okay, but keep going, man. Take it one step at a time. It'll be well. And thanks for your question, Jiggy. The next question we got, super chat, is from Kurt. Kurt says, "My ex broke up with me when she left the car. When she left the car I let her have broken down. So I brought her another car. We have a child, so that's why." Okay. I did it thinking we were going to get back together, but we didn't. What to do? Well, at the end of the day, right? If you give a gift, I always say, like, you don't like, if you give a gift, that's it. It's gone. Right. So you didn't explicitly ask that, but if the question is, should I get the car back? One, she's the mother of your child, so the car is obviously serving a purpose in, transporting her and your child back and forth. So it is what it is. That's kind of how, I don't know how much you spent on this gift, unless you spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars. I would just consider it a gift, especially if it's not that expensive. But otherwise, there's got to be some sense of like communication because you have a kid together. So even if you're not fixing the relationship currently, there's got to be a level of decorum. There's got to be a level of respect in how you handle each other, right? And so while you're in no contact in an emotional capacity of, like, not necessarily being there all the time for her or communicating back and forth, that's fine, but it's a lot trickier when you have kids and property and things together. So what I would do right now is two things. As difficult as it is when you have a child with someone, it also presents you a unique opportunity that people who don't have that type of connection do not have. You get the opportunity to showcase your improvement, All right. Because no matter how much she's not interested in you currently, she has to see you. All right. So if you, let's say you lose 10 pounds of fat, all right, you put on some muscle, but all you're doing is like, hey, you're doing the kid drop off. She has to see that. Let's say you change your wardrobe and you go pick up your, I don't know if it's a son or daughter from school, and or you guys have a parents teacher conference and things like that. She has to see that you got a nice haircut. So it's, you have an opportunity to showcase yourself changing in the physical, but also you have an opportunity to show growth in the emotional capacity. And this is probably the hardest part, because if there's one person on this planet Earth that can trigger you the most, it's going to be the person you have feelings for. Either someone you hate or someone you love. And so, how you handle her in the midst of, just day to day issues, being the mature one, being able to look at things from the bigger picture instead of trying to be vindictive. A lot of times I say, like, no contact is not about punishing your ex. It's not about intentionally causing them pain. It's about giving them what they are asking for. No more, no less. So if they want the breakup, you will honor and give them that. But now she gets to see you grow and potentially move on to someone else because she took you for granted. So it is tricky, but I do think you have a much better opportunity of fixing things, especially when you have a kid together, honestly. Okay. The next question we got is a super chat here from Dan. Dan says 2 months in no contact ish and one solid no contact. Okay. Question's a little confusing. My ex blocked me on Facebook and on my cell phone. A few days later, she's unblocked me on Facebook and stalked my stories. I've leveled up my new luxury SUV, promotions, better body. What gives? Well, obviously, she's either hearing good things about you, all right, and she's curious and she's having to look for herself. This is good. So you're moving in the right direction. Because think about it. If she blocked you, or let's say she hasn't watched your story for a while, think about it. There's a lot of resistance to her like actually clicking on your page and watching the story, because every time somebody watches your story, right, Facebook or Instagram records that. So whatever resistance she may have to connecting, her emotions are overwhelming her and causing her to do things that aren't um calm, right? So it's a good thing. I would say what you're doing is likely working, and just give it more time. She's going to move, she's going to do something a little more direct. Okay. We got a super chat from Thomas. Okay. Let's see here. There was no question in that. Okay. There it is. Thomas says, I got dumped by my wife. We migrated from Venezuela together, and thus I thought our bond was solid. Because of economic reasons, I can't commit into no contact. I'm trapped, having to live together for a few months at least. How can I get into no contact even in that situation? Well, thank you for your question, Thomas, and I really appreciate it, because you shared. I had a really good friend of mine that I used to work for at the company I talked about, and he was from Venezuela, right? So a lot of people are not aware of just what things were like over there that caused people to like immigrate over here. So I understand it can be, there's like this guy that I'm talking about that I work with. He was like a senior top engineer at Exxon, and he basically moved to the US and had to start over, right? And he was doing odd jobs and painting and driving Uber until he was able to start a career at the company I used to work for. So I that can be a very like, it's a lot. So I know you're going through a lot. And so if you have a wife that you brought over and you guys are kind of starting together, you want to do this journey and do this thing together. And obviously that's not working out. What I would say is you need to, it's kind of like so one of the things I talked about is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And one of the basal needs that we have, right, is the physical, right? Shelter, food, water, and things like that. You cannot survive without taking care of your core fundamentals. And that's kind of where I would see you in this phase. When you're in a phase of economic uncertainty and you're like, you got to take care. I think Dave Ramsey used to call it the four walls. You got to focus on the most important things right now. So if you have to lean on each other for the time being, things are a little bit cramped, but you have to be there. You're trapped. It's just part of your journey currently. Now, obviously, from a relationship perspective, even though you're in the house, I'm sure all of those things are not happening. You have to be the supportive, kind, caring person. So at least we have peace at home. There's no abuse, there's no physical situations. Cops aren't being called over because we cannot get along. So if I'm you, I'm going to focus on just getting through these next couple of months unscathed, saving up as much money as you can so that, you can kind of start your own separate journey after you move out of the house. So to me, you're going to be in some kind of contact, probably limited because it's not going to be as emotionally vulnerable as a normal relationship, but you got to take care of what you got to take care of. I don't know if you guys have any children together, which would further complicate things, but I would look beyond no contact for now and look at this as like you're in survival mode, okay? After you get through this, you get your own place and you're starting to rebuild again by yourself. Now you both have a little bit of space and separation from each other. And then no contact can be a lot more effective. Okay. But I really appreciate you for even taking the time to ask that question. And thank you so much for that, man. All right. We got a super chat from Yvonne, but I don't know. I don't see your question. So let's see here. If you came here for specifically for the question for the topic of the day, which was, do avoidance miss you? I talked about that in the beginning of the live. So once this live is over, which I'm about to end it here shortly, you can just go to my YouTube channel. You can hit the tab that says live streams and you can watch this video from the beginning. I really appreciate you for joining. I really appreciate you all for being here. We're going to do a couple more questions and we're going to call it a night. Again, thank you all. It really is a blessing to do this, to talk through some of these things. Let me recommend some books for you guys that are here today. Since we're talking about avoidance, I want you guys to look up the book Attached. It's a good book. It's a good book. There's definitely attraction things, which we talk about a lot, which has more to do with that masculine and feminine dance. But there's also things that go beyond that. Like sometimes it has more to do with our traumas and how we were raised and our experiences in childhood. Or sometimes your attachment style can change based on the relationships you had as an adult. So look up the book Attached if you have not read it. It's a good book. Definitely check that out. Another book that I really like, I'm rereading, is Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, something like that. It might go the other way around. Women are from Venus, men are from Mars. Look that up. That's a good book as well. All right. Let's do a couple more questions and we're going to call it a day. The next question we got is from Simple Love 13. What do you do when it's long distance and the ex has blocked you on all social media, but reached out to your kid and on my birthday, no contact since. So about 2 months. Well, you know, in a long distance relationship, a lot of these factors still apply the same way. Now, depending on how much time you're actually seeing each other in the physical and spending time together, the basis of attaching to someone, we can certainly attach to people from a long distance. There's people that, if you look at, decades ago when men would go off to war and their wives were back home, here in the States, the only way they could communicate with each other was, you know, through the long distance emails or letters, right? And the person would look forward to these messages. So it's not that a long distance relationship cannot have the same depth, right? But, having that physical capacity and hugging and holding and touching each other does play a factor as well. So 2 months no contact is not that long. It's not so long that it's over. And if they thought about you on your birthday or still reach out to your kids, there's a reason why they're doing that. All right. But you cannot live in a state of fear. You cannot live in a state of like always trying to force things. You have to let them participate in fixing things as well. Okay, this is going to be the last question we're going to do here. It's a super chat from Kwame. Kwame AB says, Coach, I've been in no contact for about 2 months. And hmm, and that's why if you don't break no contact, you get unblocked and get random texts from other numbers. I assume it's your ex. Well, yeah, if you're getting texts from numbers you don't recognize or calls, it's probably your ex. And sometimes this is because they're too proud. They don't want to reach out to you directly. They want you to be the one to break no contact with them, which is kind of odd because they're the ones that dumped you. So a lot of times it's like you have like a cluster, you know, mental gymnastic thing that is affecting you. Like, why would they expect me to reach out when I was trying to fix the relationship and they were running away from me? You see, this is what is called the pride of the dumper, right? Because a lot of times they assume that you are going to continue to put them on that pedestal. You're going to continue to see them as better than you. You're going to continue to pursue them, right? And so the best thing that you can do when you're getting breadcrumbs like that is just stay the course. Just hang on a little bit tighter because what's going to happen is they'll realize that if they do not do something more substantial, if they do not do something to connect with you, they will lose you forever. Please. Okay, I appreciate the super chats because I wanted to end at an hour. We're a little bit over an hour. So I'm going to do this last super chat. Please do not send any more because I do not want you to send the super chat and I don't get to answer your question. I will go live again probably next week. Okay, so if you have questions, we'll jump in there. I hope I answered a lot of your questions today. If you're here because we want to talk about do avoidance miss you, you're going to be able to watch that on my channel. Just after I end this live, go to the channel, go to the tab that says live, and you can watch that. It's in the first 15 or so minutes. We talk about that. Okay, so we got the super chat from Maverick. He says 5.5 years together, 6 months post breakup. She was really sad at the breakup, but then said she's never getting back with me. She then said that I could reach out if I wanted, but after 2 months, I broke no contact and my number was blocked. Any thoughts? Well, here's the thing. At least at the time she's saying, I will never get back to you. That's what I call distancing language. So, probably, I'm not sure if that happened right at the breakup or a week or a month later. What that tells me when someone's still pushing you away when the relationship is already over, that means you're probably still talking to them and initiating. Because if the relationship is over and you're dumped, there's no necessity for them to keep pushing you away. You're already gone. So if she's still saying there's no chance, we'll never fix things, we'll never get back together, either that was the last day of the relationship or you stayed in contact with her after the breakup. And so she still felt the need to keep pushing you away. Now, 5.5 years, obviously, it's not easy to walk away from that type of relationship. But I'm just saying, this is why your ex can say these things with such gusto, right? With such confidence. Like, hey, we're never going to get back together. It's because when they're saying it, they have all the power in the relationship. Now, you say 2 months in, she said, but so I want it, but after two, so 2 months in, you broke no contact and you reached out to her, right? And you were blocked. Okay. And then after 2 months, it's been 6 months. So 4 months after you've reached out to her, you still haven't heard a word. If I had to guess, there's a good chance she might be dating someone else. And I know this is not what you want to hear, but if you have gone 6 months with no communication whatsoever from your ex, you didn't break no contact, or the one time you tried to break it, you were already blocked, it's possible that she monkey branched and might have been dating before she even left, because that is extremely rare that she wouldn't even make any attempt, even if it's just out of curiosity, even if it's just, oh, I left my purse at your house, just to see where you're at. So it's more likely to me that, she possibly has some other connection that you didn't know about. And obviously that's hurtful. So my thoughts at this point, if you're still blocked, I wouldn't do anything to try to reach out to her, because you've already done that. So I talk about Hail Marys, and I talk about doing that around, 3 to 4 months after the breakup. You did it at 2 months, but you were blocked. So if you do it again and you're still blocked, like, what's the point? So for me, the ball's totally in her court. But if I was a gambling man, I'm gonna guess she's probably exploring another connection. Because if she was totally single, she would have done something to connect with you for sure. Anyway, I appreciate you all for being here and like tuning in. Someone says, "Can you make a video about getting back after monkey branching?" We might talk about that another day. But I appreciate y'all for being here. Thank you all. It's been an amazing night with really good questions. If you missed the live, if you missed a question, just, after I hang this up, you can go check it out. Really, really awesome questions. Um, and I appreciate you all. I want to be releasing more videos later this month for you guys to check out. And I really do appreciate the support, and I really do wish you well. Thank you all for being here. Catch you in the next one. Peace.